Welcome back to the next episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Generation X tournament here on the Homeboys channel. Today we're going to have Marcel Boneapart going up against Adrian Gecko. And Marcel actually played two decks while he was possessed by Yugioh. And the first deck that he played was an Exodia deck. You have cards like Deep Diver, who when they die in battle, it can help you put any card you want on the top of your deck. Vortex Trooper, it can shuffle two cards from your hand and get you two new cards, and then when it dies it lets you draw one. Mad Reloader, also you throw away two cards from your hand and you draw two. The rest of the spell trap lineup is just stalling, or it's helping to draw more stuff, so we're not really going to go over any of those. The one spell card I will go over though is Ultimate Ritual of the Forbidden Lord, and this is very, very tricky. It can only be activated from the graveyard, and you can only activate it when you have all 5 pieces of Exodia in your graveyard. So I believe you return all of them to the deck, then you throw away 2 pieces from your deck to summon Exodius, the Ultimate Forbidden Lord, and this is the only way that you're able to summon Exodius. He'll get 1,000 attack points for every Exodia piece that's in your graveyard. And the thing is, when you use other cards, like let's say Card Destruction, to get rid of pieces from your hand to make them stronger, while this spell card's in the graveyard, it bounces them back. It doesn't let you do that. The only way that you can get more Exodia pieces in the grave is actually by battling with Exodius, because then he'll let you throw away one of the Forbidden One pieces. If he throws away all 5 pieces with his effect, then you win the duel. You could also potentially want to throw away the Exodia pieces to use your contract with Exodia, so that you pay 2,000 life points in order to ritual summon the Exodia Necros. Exodia Necros gets a different effect for every different Exodia piece that's in your graveyard. So if you have the head of Exodia, he can't be destroyed in battle. If you have the left leg, he can't be destroyed by spells. The right leg protects him from traps. The left arm protects him from other monster effects. And the right arm actually lets him get an extra 1,000 points, attack points, every time he battles a monster, whether he's getting attacked or doing the attacking. But the best Exodia IMO would actually be the legendary Exodia Incarnate, and it has many abilities. For one, he's unaffected by all card effects, so he's the most unkillable, right? You can only kill him in battle, or maybe by tributing him or something. You summon him by tributing an Exodia piece that's on your field. He gets 1,000 for each piece in the graveyard, and during your end phase you get a piece back from your graveyard, so he can still stimulate the original win condition strategy. Also, if he dies, you can show all the pieces in your hand, and for every piece that you have, you draw that many cards. And this is actually a strategy that's extra stimulated by the Obliterate Trap card, which lets you throw away different Exodia cards in order to send a monster back to the hand. And then if it leaves the Spell and Trap card zone, you get back a piece from your graveyard. So this is for sure a very, very deadly deck. However, not all the cards have synergy, and it's not a very balanced deck. So there's plenty of room for failure, but we'll see how he does. Moving on to his opponent. Alright, Adrian Gecko's was actually the one who was more known for the Exodia deck, but prior to that he had a Cloudian deck, and Cloudians are all fairy monsters with very low stats. If they're in defense mode, they automatically blow themselves up. When they're summoned, for every Cloudian on the field, including themselves, they'll get fog counters, and fog counters are how these Cloudians use their effects. So they can summon other small monsters from your deck. They can destroy monsters, destroy spells and traps, or even destroy your opponent's hand. Really depends. Some Cloudians can generate other tokens for yourself, and other Cloudians can actually generate fog counters for you as well. And they also have some very slight burn effects down here. They have Natural Disaster, so whenever your opponent loses a card because of a card effect, they'll take 500 points, because Cloudian effects and whatnot. And then you also have Updraft, which can do 300 for every single fog counter on the field, but it removes every single fog counter, so that's pretty cool. Then the side deck is really nothing to talk about. It's just more Cloudian support, another Zeratius to get to your field spell quicker, trade-ins in case you decide to leave in the Cloudian Eye of Typhoon, that way that they're somewhat useful, and really that's just all it is. Hopefully he does well. No idea how consistent or how good this deck is gonna be. You know, it's kind of hard to say. So let's just see it in action. Let the duel begin. Round 1 between Marcel and Adrian. Marcel's actually going to take turn 1, so he's not going to go ahead and get the draw, which matters a lot in an Exodia deck, but he does have the Deep Diver, so once this dies in battle, he's going to be able to stack his top card. We're going to see Cloudy and Turbulence hit the field first, and Turbulence can actually bring out those normal monsters, these Smoke Balls, so he's already stacking up his field, and while Smoke Balls don't do anything, they're a Cloudian monster, so the next monster that he chooses to bring out is going to have a total of 3 counters, assuming no one dies here. So Marcel's actually going to flip over Deep Diver since it's stronger, surprisingly, than Turbulence, so he's really just going to try to poke for 300 really quickly. Here's the Natural Disaster, so if Adrian starts blowing stuff up with his card effects, then Marcel will start to take some burn damage, and I think that's an effective move to try to use against an Exodia deck. Here comes another Turbulence, so here comes the other Smoke Ball, and I believe that's all of them in the deck, and he's going to use his 2 Turbulence now to go for the Snow Dust Giant. So I think it gets an effect for every water monster in your hand, right? Place that many ice counters on the field, non-water monsters lose 200 attack for each ice counter. So he's not going to do that, he's just going to beat over for 1200, but now Deep Diver is going to put Hand Destruction on top of the deck, and that looks like because he has the Exodia Necros set. Okay. Hang on, a lot is happening. So, the Hand Destruction anime effect. Most duelists know it as you throw away 2 cards, both players, and then you draw 2 cards, but the anime effect says you throw away 4, and if you have less than 4 cards in your hand, you just throw away your entire hand and draw that many cards back. So already he has, although he gave up the Exodia Necros and the Ritual, you know, he has 2 pieces in the graveyard, and here's the Ultimate Ritual Lord, so he can get that into the graveyard later on. Then, you know, he's really on track for the Exodius. Emissary of the Afterlife is a nice, kind of beefy 1600. I say beefy because of the rest of his deck and stat-wise and everything. But here we see Cirrostratus. Cirrostratus is going to get 2 counters, which is going to let him destroy a monster. So there goes the Emissary and 500 of Marcel's life points. But when Emissary goes from the field to the graveyard, he gets a normal monster that's level 3 or lower. So there goes one of the Exodia pieces again. And then he's going to be able to swing for a nice, what is that, 3100 damage. So if Marcel can't get a body on the field, you know, he's liable to lose. Graceful Charity will let him draw 3 and then throw away 2 cards. So I believe I know he's going to pick the... Yes. Okay, so he threw away the spell card. And it looked like he chose to throw away Defense Seal Wall because unless you have multiple copies of... Oh, he does... Okay, that's very interesting. I wonder why he did that. Going over to Adrian's turn, now that the Cloudian Squall is on the field, a bunch of more counters are going to start racking up, so he's going to be able to use Altus to throw away a random card in the hand. He hit the Exodius, which isn't bad, but I don't know. You know, actually, now that I think about it, Exodius might have been the best one, because I don't think the spell card, summon Exodius from your hand or deck. Yeah, okay, so that was probably the best card that he could have hit. Good stuff. If he hit the leg of Exodia, then he might have been in trouble. And he hit the Magic Planner, so Marcel's not going to be able to get that draw effect off of there, but because of the Mad Reloader, he did get another Exodia piece into his graveyard, and he does also have another Exodius in his deck. Marcel just barely lives with 100. Real shame that, you know, Cirrostratus didn't have any fog counters on it that he could have used, because, you know, if he used Cirrostratus to blow up the monster instead, that would have been an extra 500 with the Natural Disaster. I don't think he thought that through all the way. So there's a face down monster in the face down card. Cloudian Squall is going to put a bunch of fog counters on everything, and this duel is surprising so far. I did not expect that it would be going the way that it's been going right now. Dimension Prison is going to get rid of the Snow Dust Giant, so it's removed from the game, but Altus is strong enough to destroy the Deep Diver, and Cirrostratus swings for game. Round 1 goes to Adrian Gecko. Round 2, Marcel lost, so he gets to pick who goes first, and he picks Adrian. That way he can get the additional draw. So Adrian's going to start off with Valhalla, which will let him special summon a fairy from his hand when he has no monsters on the field. He's going to go ahead and special summon the Acid Cloud, and I kind of don't blame him because Typhoon... Oh, Typhoon's not even a fairy, it's Aqua. Man, this monster sucks. Okay, so he's going to go ahead and special summon the Acid Cloud, throw up a Cloudian Squall, so that monsters will start racking up fog counters. On Marcel's side, he used Foolish Burial Goods, which lets him throw away a spell or trap from his deck. So he threw away Rage of the Forbidden One because I guess he just doesn't feel like drawing it, or he doesn't want to draw into it. Burden of the Mighty is going to activate, so the higher level that Adrian's monsters are, the more attack points they're going to lose. Since he's a level 4, he's losing 400 attack points. Here comes the Deep Diver to swing in for 900 over here. Obviously no choice but to take that. And yeah, it's a really interesting field presence situation that we have going on here, because Adrian can't do anything, but pretty soon he'll be able to start blowing stuff up. But at the same time, though, he can't protect himself from all the damage that Marcel is going to be able to slowly but surely do. And here comes the Obliterate, so he can throw away any Exodia card from his deck. He chooses the head, and there goes Acid Cloud at the end of Adrian's turn, so it's already too late for him to summon it back. Foolish Burial Goods is going to activate to throw away, what was that, Broken Seal or something? Just another card he doesn't want to draw into. And now he's going to bounce his own monster, that way he can throw away another Exodia piece. So he's definitely stacking up for the ultimate ritual. And the other interesting thing about doing that is he reset all the fog counters, so Adrian wasn't able to capitalize on that. Obliterate is definitely a problem to go up against. Here comes the Altis, though. So Altis is not going to do anything because he got obliterated. Oh my god. He's going to summon it again because the first summon was with Valhalla. So there goes his normal summon. He gets the 1 counter on it, and there's not enough counters, so there's nothing else he can really do with that. Here comes a second Deep Diver, so now that's going to be not even 200, 2,000, because he can obliterate using his other versions of Exodia to feed his trap card. There's 1,000 right there. There's another one to the face, and Adrian is at 4,100. Squall isn't actually getting its maximum potential off. Valhalla is going to summon out the Altis once again, and then he's going to normal summon the Acid Cloud so that he can get the 2 counters. Obliterate's already been used, so he's going to use Acid Cloud to get rid of the Obliterate once and for all. Finally, but I was going to say, but now he's left with the 100 attack monster, but no, he's going to go into the Snow Dust Giant once again. He's going to go ahead and use his effect, revealing that 1 water monster, and it looks like it did nothing. He put an ice counter on himself. Interesting. Anyways, so here comes the Exodia Incarnate. 4 pieces of Exodia in the graveyard, so it has 4,000 attack. And Adrian lost his Xyz already. At the end of his turn, he goes down to 3,000 and he got the head. So in not 3 turns, he wouldn't have all 5 pieces, but Adrian's definitely struggling here. He's going to go ahead and set the Poison Cloud. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be effective because Incarnate isn't affected by any card effects. So now it's down to 2,000. Maybe he's just trying to whittle down the Exodia monster. He's stacking up a bunch of fog counters on it. Natural Disaster can't really do anything to it, but here comes the Deep Diver, and round 2 goes to Marcel. The final round between Marcel and Adrian. It looks like Adrian picked for Marcel to go first. So he's going to actually open up with Pot of Desires, and very, very ballsy move, because if you hit just a single Exodia piece in those 10 cards, you ruin your entire deck's potential. But if you somehow dodge all of the Exodia pieces in these 10 cards you're removing from play, and you're drawing 2, you're giving yourself a massive advantage. And I think, yeah, okay, we can check. Okay, so he unfortunately hit the Pot of Extravagance and an Obliterate, but and a Pot of Greed, but he dodged it. Not a single Exodia piece got banished, so Marcel made a massive risk and won that bet, hands down. He sets his trap card so he doesn't lose it to the hand destruction, so now Adrian's going to lose 4 of his 5 cards he chooses just to keep the Cloudy and Sheep and get rid of all the other stuff. On the other hand, Marcel only gets 2 cards, and he ends his turn with Exodia at only 1,000 attack points with only 1 piece in the graveyard. For Adrian's turn now, he's going to use Trade-In and get rid of that Eye of Typhoon in order to draw 2, and he's going to get another 2 with Pot of Greed, plus a search with a Terraforming. So fantastic hand, and we have the Fog Castle here. So Fog Castle lets you summon the Fog King without a tribute, and whenever it fights and it's going to be destroyed in battle, you can actually keep it alive and then you move it over to another monster space. But wherever the Fog King used to be, you can't summon monsters there anymore. Then, once you have 5 total counters on your Fog Castle, you can actually throw away the Fog Castle and your entire hand, and you get back 4 cards from your graveyard. So, you know, you're really jumping through hoops in order to get that to work. If you could get it to work, you could if you could get it to work, you could gain massively, but let's just see, you know, how it goes. He's going to go ahead and bring out the Fog King, and Fog King is key here because with Fog King on the field, as long as he's in attack position, all other monsters lose their effects. Plus, when he battles somebody, both of them become 1 attack point each. That way they can suicide, because a monster with 0 can't kill any monster, even if the other monster also has 0. Then Royal Sword is also a really good card here for the Fog King, because at the end of the battle phase, if he fought anybody, then the Royal Sword will get a counter. And for every counter on it, you know, not only will the Fog King get 800 attack points, but if the Royal Sword ends up getting destroyed, or something along those lines, you can... Oh, no, I'm sorry. When it gets all 4 counters, you can do 4,000 points of damage. So, Royal Sword is deadly, and he has the Squall, and he's going to use Cloudian Aerosol, which Marcel forced him to throw away. That way he can summon any Cloudian from his deck. Then he goes for Altis to the field, a nice 1,300. Its effects are negated. Fog King's going to attempt to suicide, but Dimensional Prison is going to banish the Fog King. So that entire setup strategy he just had is completely negated, because that is the only Fog King he runs. And but Altis not only gets his can't die in battle effect again, but he's strong enough to kill over the Ultimate Exodia, and he gets 1 draw since he had 1 piece in his hand. He's going to go ahead and set the Deep Diver, but before he ends his turn, here comes Eye of Typhoon with Adrian's Call of the Haunted. So now he has a 3,000 beat stick, but he has to be careful, because once it attacks, all his monsters will switch positions, and when a regular Cloudian goes into defense mode, it will automatically be destroyed. He did get a second Squall, so he's going to summon the Sheep Cloud in attack mode. That way, when Eye of Typhoon does attack, it'll be safe in defense mode, but also it'll be face up, so it'll gain counters off of Squall. Really genius play there. He's going to attack with Altis first, because it's about to destroy itself once Eye of Typhoon strikes for a whopping 3,000 points of damage. At the end of the turn, Marcel actually gets to put Obliterate on top of his deck, and we saw Obliterate basically won him the entire duel in the last round with just a single copy. So he's going to set that and set a Sangan, which will search for another Exodia piece for him, but you know, unfortunately, Adrian has Rainstorm, and so by getting rid of 2,000 attack points off of Eye of Typhoon, a monster who already drops its own attack points, he can destroy any 2 cards on the field. So Marcel does get the Ultimate Lord back with Obliterate, and he gets a search off of Sangan, but his field is completely empty with 4,700 life points left. Fortunately for him, though, Eye of Typhoon not only has 500, but Adrian drew a monster he can't summon because he doesn't have the proper field spell out, but he's going to discard it to get a better field spell, Sanctuary in the Sky, since Fog Castle is now officially dead. It's just going to poke for 500 before passing it back over to Marcel, and Eye of Typhoon is officially at 0. Mind you, it's an Aqua, not a Fairy, so the field spell will not protect Adrian's life points when Typhoon is in battle. So here comes the Head of Exodia to destroy the Eye of Typhoon. There goes all the counters that it racked up for itself, but Call of the Hunted being destroyed means he has another space available for him in the Spell and Trap card zone. And every one of his turns, you know, Squalls are just going to rack up more counters. So here comes the Acid Cloud. He could potentially destroy spells and traps on Marcel's side of the field now. Exodia leaves for the Legendary Exodia. So here's 2,000. He really misplayed there. But at the same time, there was nothing else he could do, because, sure, you could destroy the Cloud and get rid of 4 counters, but it's going to summon 2 tokens who are each going to get 2 counters. So not only are the number of counters on the field going to be the same, but you're also giving him 2 extra monsters. So if he draws a Cloudian, then that'll get 2 extra counters instead of just the 1. So, you know, that attack was probably just a troll. There's really nothing he could have done there. And Legendary Exodia falls to 1,000 again. And Adrian actually drew the Soul Taker, or Soul Charge, excuse me. So he's going to go ahead and use it. Pays 500 life points for each monster he wants to bring back. He can bring back any number he pleases, but they can't attack during this turn. So looks like he chooses his 2 Eyes of Typhoon and his Radius now that the Sanctuary in the Sky is officially on the field. 1,500. Unfortunately, his 2 Eyes of Typhoons will go down to 25 without being able to accomplish anything. Emissary is going to hit the field, so that's another Exodia piece. And now that he doesn't have the room to summon 2 tokens, he can kill the Sheep Cloud, who racked up a lot of counters without suffering any sort of consequences. Exodia to defense mode to protect Marcel's life points. And when it dies, you know, Adrian's aware that he's gotten back a lot of Exodia pieces, so he has to be careful not to kill this, at least in battle, because then Marcel will be drawing 3 cards here, and he only has 14 cards left in his deck. Plus, destroying Emissary will get him another Exodia piece. So let's see how he decides to approach this. You know, he actually does have the Cloudian Storm Dragon. I believe he's going to summon that, which, no, okay, not yet. So he's going to poke for 500, and this is probably better to attack, even though, you know, you're doing 400 less than the Typhoon could, because if Typhoon attacked, you're losing 6 counters because your Acid Cloud will be destroyed. So really, really difficult call to make there, but I think he made the right play, even though now Marcel has 4 of the 5 Exodia pieces, so it's a race to see what's going to happen. Can he get over the Legendary Exodia, Marcel bricks and not drawing the final piece, and then can he swing for game with Typhoon's massive handicap effect? Or will Marcel be able to draw that last card he needs in order to win the game with Exodia's ability? It's looking very, very likely that that's what's going to take place here. He does not draw the piece here, but he does get the Swords of Revealing Light, and normally you could say, okay, you just swing into attack mode, you know, run into something, and then boom, you force the activation, so you get to draw 4 cards. And while that is a valid strategy, it's also a risk, because once you get rid of the Exodia, you have no other defenses on your field to protect yourself with, especially because Typhoon can switch Marcel's monsters into attack mode. So by doing that, if you don't draw that last piece in your top 4 cards, then you're basically asking for defeat here. So I think playing swords regardless is a safe bet here before passing it back over to Adrian. Adrian's gonna stack up even more counters. He could use his Acid Cloud in order to destroy these Swords of Revealing Light, but at the same time, is Adrian willing to make the risk and say, okay, you're definitely not gonna have the last piece in your top 4 cards? Looks like he's not gonna make the risk, so he's just gonna pass his turn. But it doesn't matter, because Adrian actually had game this entire time. He was stacking up these counters, waiting to draw an updraft, which he, luckily for him, drew just in time. It will remove every single counter on the field, and then it'll do 300 points of damage for every counter removed. Marcel takes 6,300 damage. Adrian has won the duel.
Turn your appearance to a disappearance. I fuck with nothing but gangsters, nothing but hustler niggas. Sound off, sound off.